we're joined now by Abdullahi Adamu, who is the Executive Commissioner of Operations at the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. Thank you for joining us on News Night. But you have your job cut out for you. This must be a really tough one, balancing between the forces, market forces of demand and supply, the foreign exchange volatility, and all of that. And then you, FCCP, you're telling, CPC, right?
Yes.
You're telling sellers to manage their prices. First off, how do you even have the capacity as a body to monitor and ensure compliance with whatever directives you're putting out there?
You see, let's first of all start on this understanding. We are not a price regulatory agency.
Right.
We don't regulate prices. What's happening is that there are a lot of distortions in the market. These distortions are the thing that we are fighting against. And this moratorium period that we gave is also that all these obnoxious practices that are ongoing must stop. What's really going on is you bring in a truckload of yams, for instance, from Benue. You want to enter Wuse Garki market to sell. If you don't belong to the association, they will not allow you to enter. So there's a barrier in the first instance going into the market. You have to belong to the Yam Sellers Association or the market before you can bring in the product to sell. So the associations now do what is wrong in the regulation. That is, they fix prices. They are the ones that fix what a tuber of yam is going to cost today. And they are the ones who also decide, even amongst the ones that are allowed to come into the market, their own association members, Mr. A, Mr. B, C, D, E, you bring your products in on Mondays, you bring yours on Tuesdays. What does that create? An artificial scarcity. And what does that result into? Of course, higher prices. So these are all the practices we are talking about. We agree that, yes, prices have gone up. Yes, the vehicles are not very roadworthy. We have bad roads. There are breakdowns on the way.
And there's cost of fuel, too.
Yeah. If you have a load of tomatoes, for instance, and somewhere along the way you have a breakdown, what happens? You lose it because it's a perishable item.
Right.
So your next batch of tomatoes that you are taking to the market will bear the cost of the rotten ones. Of course, it goes to consumer. So all these are things that have to be looked at. And we have our own limits. As you said earlier, we know that we have our own capacity, and we know that we cannot exceed it. What we normally do is there are various levels of these committees on food pricing at government, in government. We have a ministerial committee, and there's even a presidential committee. So the things that are beyond us, issues of, for instance, security agencies, having roadblocks on the roads and collecting tolls. Some people told us that it costs as much as 300,000, 400,000 in bribing toll gates. Some local government employees along the way, some state governments have checkpoints also. You have to pay all these rates. So you pay that money if you are taking like a trailer load of cows from Yobe all the way to Port Harcourt. This meeting didn't just come out of the blues. We did a lot of research, we got a lot of data, we did a lot of market surveys. We went to all these nooks and crannies of the country. There are people that went to Taraba, people went to Benue, people went to Oyo. We saw all the markets, we saw what was going on, and we even tried at our own level to see how we can address these issues. Masaka Market, for instance, we brought them in along with the chairman of the Kauru local government, sat down together, discussed such issues, and agreed that yes, for now it is advocacy. But what you are doing is against the law. So management of the market, go and do something about these associations. If they don't stop that practice, then we'll apply the full wrath of the law. So that's exactly what we are saying now, that for now it's advocacy. From here, we are going to Lagos maybe in the next 1 week or two. We're going to Port Harcourt, to Kano, all parts of the country, all zones. So after we do all these zones, then the zonal offices will now take over and do the states within those zones. In as much as that advocacy is done with, we now have to apply the full wrath of the law so that we would address these issues. Supermarkets are not helping matters. You saw the example cited by the EVC, this issue of the blender that sold for its only $86, that now sells in Nigeria for 944,000 naira. It doesn't make sense. Yes, we agree that there are costs along the way that you have to pay. You have to pay custom duty, things like that. But you can't just explain a price of about 150,000 or even less, 130 or so for $86. and then you are selling at 944. And then only 2 weeks ago it was 750. So what changed? It's the same old stock. How come it's you added 200,000 on it? That means that they are gouging prices. And that's also against the law. So we're telling them, stop these practices. That's
well, quite a lot that the FCCPC is doing. And the good thing is that the FCCP has always, been there talking. Listening to you, you've been able to identify these businesses. And another problem will be the moratorium. That may also make them conform. And how do you keep monitoring to the extent that after a month moratorium, they don't go back to price fixing? And in addition, the tomato scenario is very important here. Do you have, or is there any other agency you're working with that has some kind of incentive for such losses so that they don't put the entire cost on the consumer?
Is the incentive really the solution? No. Improvement on our infrastructure, first and foremost, that's one. Secondly, we look at even the issue of these CNG buses we are talking about that are coming into effect very soon. That will reduce the cost of transport by 60%. Of course, that will now affect cost of transportation of goods. The movement of goods from that farm all the way to the fork is a major problem in Nigeria. Yeah. Because even the motorcycles that they now use from the farm itself to bring it to the house so that they can now package it and then it goes to the local market, from local market to the main market, things like that. All along the way, there are challenges. So these are issues that we have to look at. And of course, as you rightly pointed out, work with other organizations. Of course, we already have MOU with places such as NAFDAC, such as SON, we're even the same ministry. So these are all agencies that we work together with to ensure that we succeed in our work. But more importantly, Nigeria has a big problem with data. So you have to gather every small data that you need because it's non-existent. We were lucky around the beginning of this year, there is a lot of work that was done with one international body called Consumer International. Right. Consumer International did a good survey on this farm to fork issue. And all these issues that we are now discussing, issue of the roadblocks, issue of the bad roads, issue of cost of fuel, things like that are in that report. The report is like 900 pages. Okay. So all this information has been very useful to us. So what we did was now ensure that the authenticity of that report by going deeper down ourselves and looking at it and confirming what it is that they said.
I can tell you for free that from Ahera Junction in Imo State to Mbise, there is no road.
Yeah.
Ahera Junction to Owerri, no road. And I'm saying that because I just came back, by road. I traveled by road to the southeast, so we have to. Are you looking at the filling stations too? Because they seem to be tampering with their meters. Are you looking at that?
They are. That's an issue of the Midstream Downstream Regulatory Commission, quite all right. But at a stage, that we carried our own meters and started going to gauge. At a stage, we also carried scales and went into markets in Garki here and found out that the 50 kg of rice you are buying as 50 kg is really 42, 43.
There you go. We'll have to live with that.
5 kg is 20. So these are all things. There are serious issues on ground that we really have to address. In Ngozi Suleiman, we have a lot of work to do.
A lot.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed. Abdullahi Adamu, Executive Commissioner of Operations at Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC. Thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.